Gary McKinnon, a Scottish computer hacker, made headlines when he was accused of conducting a significant breach of US military and NASA computers. He used the alias Solo during his activities. McKinnon's alleged hacking included deleting important files from operating systems, resulting in the shutdown of a significant military computer network. He also disrupted naval weapons stations and copied sensitive data. His actions were costly to repair, totaling over $700,000 in damages. McKinnon also left anti-American messages on compromised systems. Arrested in 2002, he faced extradition to the United States and a potential 70-year jail sentence. There were concerns he might be sent to Guantanamo Bay. Legal proceedings in the UK lasted for years, including appeals to the House of Lords and the European Court of Human Rights. In 2012, then Home Secretary Theresa May blocked his extradition, citing McKinnon's health issues. He has Asperger's syndrome and depressive illness. Despite admitting to hacking, McKinnon claimed he was searching for evidence related to UFOs, anti-gravity technology, and suppressed free energy. He believed he had found such evidence but was unable to secure it. His case garnered support from public figures and musicians, including David Gilmour of Pink Floyd, who released a single to raise awareness. In the end, McKinnon was not prosecuted in the UK, as it was challenging to bring a case with evidence located in the United States. Ghost hunters often claim that Albert Einstein's physics supports the existence of ghosts, citing his work on the conservation of energy. They argue that if energy cannot be destroyed, it must transform into another form after death, possibly becoming a ghost. However, this idea doesn't hold up to scientific scrutiny. When a person dies, the energy in their body is released as heat, which dissipates into the environment. It's transferred to animals that consume the body or plants that absorb it. Cremation also releases this energy as heat and light. It doesn't manifest as a glowing, ghostly ball of electromagnetic energy. While living organisms generate low-level electrical currents due to metabolic processes, these cease when an organism dies. The energy source ends, just like turning off a light switch. Any energy a deceased person leaves behind takes years to re-enter the environment as part of the food chain and doesn't linger in a detectable form for ghost hunters to find with devices like electromagnetic field detectors. The Stargate project was a secretive initiative launched in 1978 by the US Army and the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, in collaboration with SRI International. Its aim was to explore the potential of psychic phenomena for military and intelligence purposes. Initially, the project went by various code names until it was consolidated and renamed the Stargate Project in 1991. The primary focus of the Stargate project was remote viewing, which involves psychically seeing events, locations, or information from a distant place. It was a relatively small-scale initiative, involving about 15 to 20 individuals working out of an old barracks at Fort Meade, Maryland. In 1995, the Stargate project was terminated and declassified after a CIA report found that it had not been useful in any intelligence operations. The information it provided was often vague, irrelevant, or incorrect, and there were concerns about the reliability of its data. The project's history traces back to the 1970s when US intelligence believed the Soviet Union was investing in psychotronic research. This led to the initiation of programs like Scanate and the eventual development of remote viewing research at the Stanford Research Institute, SRI. Notable individuals involved in the project included Hal Puthoff, Russell Targ, Edwin May, Ingo Swann, Pat Price, Major General Albert Stubblebine, David Morehouse, Joseph McMoneagle, and Ed Dames. Despite its intriguing premise, the Stargate project concluded that remote viewing did not provide actionable intelligence and lacked scientific validity. It was eventually disbanded and is often cited as a case of paranormal research within government circles, but one that ultimately failed to deliver concrete results. Past life regression is a method that uses hypnosis to recover what practitioners believe are memories of past lives or incarnations. The practice is widely considered discredited and unscientific by medical practitioners, and experts generally regard claims of recovered memories of past lives as fantasies or delusions, or a type of confabulation. The technique used during past life regression involves the subject answering a series of questions while hypnotized to reveal identity and events of alleged past lives, a method similar to that used in recovered memory therapy, and one that, similarly, often misrepresents memory as a faithful recording of previous events rather than a constructed set of recollections. The use of hypnosis and suggestive questions can tend to leave the subject particularly likely to hold distorted or false memories. The source of the memories is more likely cryptomnesia and confabulations that combine experiences, knowledge, imagination, and suggestion or guidance from the hypnotist than recall of a previous existence. Religious traditions that incorporate reincarnation generally do not include the idea of repressed memories of past lives. In some religions, like Jainism and certain forms of yoga, the concept of past lives is acknowledged as part of the belief system, but the use of past life regression is not a common practice. The technique of past life regression gained popularity in the modern era, with some individuals claiming to access memories of their past lives through hypnosis. However, this practice is widely rejected by clinical psychiatrists and psychologists as a psychiatric treatment. Studies suggest that past life regression may result in false memories implanted through the susceptibility of the hypnotic method. Subjects who reported memories of past lives exhibited high hypnotizability, and their memories were more influenced by their beliefs about reincarnation and their expectations rather than actual recall of past lives. Furthermore, past life regression has raised ethical concerns. Critics argue that it lacks evidence to support its claims and may increase susceptibility to false memories. The memories created during past life regression are often vivid and indistinguishable from actual memories, making it difficult to discern between true and false recollections. This has led to ethical concerns about the potential harm caused by implanting false memories in vulnerable individuals. Gadolinium gallium garnet quantum electronic processors, GGGQEP, are a theoretical electronic circuit that relies on a special synthetic crystal called gadolinium gallium garnet. This circuit is said to work by using quantized radiation, but there's no evidence or public demonstration of it in action. In the 1960s and 1970s, this crystal was used as a base for growing thin magnetic garnet crystal films in bubble memory chips. However, this technology was outperformed by semiconductor memory chips, leading manufacturers to abandon its development. TimeCube was a peculiar web page created by a man named Otis Eugene Gene Ray. He claimed to be the wisest man on Earth and presented a bizarre theory known as TimeCube. According to Ray, modern science was part of a worldwide conspiracy to hide the truth, that each day is made up of 4 simultaneous days. The TimeCube website was an unconventional mess, with no clear organization and a lot of made-up words. Ray's theory was confusing, and his writings included offensive content. He even offered money to anyone who could prove him wrong. Despite its oddity, Ray spoke about TimeCube at prestigious institutions like MIT and the Georgia Institute of Technology. However, his ideas were widely regarded as nonsensical, and he gained a reputation as a nutty figure on the internet. A documentary film called Above God was made about Ray and his TimeCube theory, winning awards at film festivals. Some people have an unusual belief that buildings are sentient and evil, controlling humanity. This unconventional idea suggests that buildings have gained consciousness through the materials they are made of and can manipulate human minds. According to this belief, significant events like 9/11 and protests are not about people, but are actually attacks on prominent buildings. It even connects Freemasonry to the construction industry, suggesting that buildings reproduce like organisms and have an endgame of eliminating humanity through automation. While this perspective may seem bizarre, It reflects a concern about how our environment, particularly cities and buildings, affects human behavior and well-being. Some individuals feel that the artificial world created by buildings is incompatible with human needs and can lead to negative effects on our health and behavior. The Nobody is an enigmatic figure of contemporary times possessing extraordinary spiritual abilities. These powers grant the Nobody the unique capability to manipulate reality, both consciously and unconsciously. Despite lacking conventional wealth or fame, the Nobody serves as a vessel for divine strength and wisdom. At the core of the Nobody's identity is the Logos, a concept representing divine reason or wisdom. This connection empowers the Nobody to fearlessly speak the truth and challenge established authorities. The Nobody's existence challenges the notion that power and control must be derived from material wealth or dominance over others. It's important to note that the Nobody is not considered a messiah, but rather an ordinary individual who has achieved a profound connection with the divine through unwavering dedication and spiritual growth. The Nobody's influence extends beyond personal empowerment, as their existence inspires others to explore their own spiritual potential and the possibility of a united global community. This community, based on shared consciousness and spiritual evolution, has the potential to create positive change in the world. Geometrodynamics is a theory in physics that tries to explain everything about space, time, and forces by using geometry, like shapes and measurements. It's like trying to fit all the puzzle pieces of the universe together using only geometry. One part of this theory is called Einstein's geometrodynamics, which is kind of like a special way of looking at how things in the universe move and change. It's named after Albert Einstein, who was a famous physicist. Another part, called Wheeler's geometrodynamics, goes even deeper. It tries to understand things like mass, how heavy something is, and charge, a property of particles, in a different way. It also explores strange ideas like geons, which are like ripples in space that can affect objects, and wormholes, which are like shortcuts through the universe. Today, scientists are still working on these ideas, especially in something called quantum geometrodynamics, which is like trying to understand space and time on the smallest scales, almost like zooming in with a microscope. It's a bit like a big puzzle that scientists are trying to solve to understand our universe better. Angels, as we often imagine them, with beautiful wings and gentle faces, don't quite match their biblical descriptions. In the Bible, angels appear in more terrifying forms. Let's explore why. The word angel comes from the Greek word angelos, which means messenger. In the Bible, angels known as malachim acted as God's messengers. While they were human-like, they weren't described as having wings. Early Christian art depicted angels as wingless, human-like beings. However, in the 4th century, artists started portraying angels with wings, even though the Bible never mentions wings. Cherubim, often depicted as cute, chubby children with wings, are actually described in the Bible as having 4 faces: eagle, human, ox, lion, straight legs, 4 wings, and bull hooves. Seraphim, the highest-ranking angels, are portrayed as having 6 wings and are associated with fire. They are not guard angels, as many believe. Ophanim, strange beings with wheels covered in eyes, are not considered angels in the Bible, but are close to God's throne. The disconnect between our angelic depictions and the Bible's descriptions may be due to angels' appearance being incomprehensible to humans. They exist outside of time and space, making it challenging to represent them accurately. While angels may look scary in their biblical forms, they serve God's purposes and act in our best interests. So, appearances can be deceiving. Scientific knowledge can be a bit paradoxical. You see, knowledge is built upon concepts, but these concepts are often vague. This leads to what we call the knowledge paradox, KP. The KP suggests that while concepts help us understand the world, they also take us further away from reality. Think of it this way. Each concept is like a small step away from the real thing it represents. It's a bit like a puzzle with no clear boundaries. This makes it tricky to say where the concept ends and reality begins. So, every statement about the world can become a bit like a riddle, similar to the famous liar paradox. The KP is a bit self-referential, but it's not really contradictory. It can be seen from two angles. If we know something epistemic, we might also realize that we don't truly know it ontic. The vagueness in concepts makes it hard to reach that deeper level of real knowledge. So, what happens in the world of science is that concepts keep multiplying within theories. This can lead to periods where it seems like our knowledge is decaying. But then, new theories come along, and they use fewer, more synthetic concepts. This helps us reset the balance and understand things a bit better. It's like a cycle in the world of knowledge. The Dunning-Kruger effect is like an extra piece of the puzzle when we talk about knowledge and understanding. Here's how it fits in: confidence and incompetence. The Dunning-Kruger effect shows that some people who don't know much about a topic can be very confident in their beliefs. This overconfidence happens because they lack the knowledge to recognize their own mistakes. It's like trying to complete a puzzle without knowing what the picture should look like. Knowledge and doubt. On the other hand, people who have a deeper understanding of a subject might doubt themselves more. They're aware of how complex the puzzle is, so they're less likely to be overly confident. Now, tie this back to the knowledge paradox. The paradox says that as we gain more knowledge, we might feel like we know less because we see the complexity. This can lead to doubts and less confidence, even though we're actually more knowledgeable. So, the Dunning-Kruger effect is like a piece of the puzzle that helps explain why some people are overly confident with limited knowledge, while others with more knowledge might doubt themselves. It's all part of the fascinating world of understanding and learning. The God Helmet is a peculiar experimental device originally created by Stanley Coren and neuroscientist Michael Persinger. Its purpose was to explore creativity, religious experiences, and the effects of weak magnetic fields on the brain's temporal lobes. When people wear this helmet, some have reported feeling a sensed presence, which gained public attention and led to TV documentaries. The helmet generates very weak magnetic fields, often compared to the strength of a landline telephone or an ordinary hairdryer, but much weaker than a refrigerator magnet or transcranial magnetic stimulation. Some individuals have reported mystical experiences and altered states while wearing it. However, the scientific community has been divided. While Persinger claims positive results, attempts to replicate these effects have yielded mixed outcomes. Some suggest that suggestibility, improper blinding of participants, or unique methodologies might explain Persinger's results. Others have used sham helmets or helmets that weren't even turned on to generate similar experiences. The God helmet wasn't designed to evoke visions of God, but to test theories about brain function. It explores ideas like the vectorial hemisphericity hypothesis, which suggests that our sense of self involves both brain hemispheres. Disrupting communication between them might lead to unusual experiences. Persinger also theorizes that various paranormal experiences, such as feeling the presence of non-physical beings or ghosts, could be explained by these disruptions in brain function. Some participants have indeed reported sensing presences, angels, or even God while wearing the helmet. The device uses weak magnetic fields, much weaker than transcranial magnetic stimulation, and aims to activate specific brain structures. These sessions take place in an acoustic chamber that shields electromagnetic emissions, allowing research into the effects of geomagnetism on the human brain. Despite debate and skepticism, the God helmet remains a fascinating subject in the realm of neuroscience and human perception. Electronic voice phenomenon, EVP, is a fascinating phenomenon within the realm of paranormal research. It involves capturing mysterious sounds on electronic recordings that some interpret as spirit voices. These recordings are often short and embedded in background noise. While enthusiasts believe EVPs are evidence of contact with the spirit world, scientists tend to explain them as auditory pareidolia, where random sounds are perceived as voices. EVP has a history dating back to the 1940s when American photographer Attila von Schale attempted to record voices of the dead. His work continued with Raymond Bayless, leading to some of the first alleged spirit voice recordings. In 1959, Swedish painter Fredrik Jürgensen claimed to hear his deceased family members through recorded bird songs. Konstantin Raudiv, a Latvian psychologist, conducted over 100,000 EVP recordings in the 20th century, believing he communicated with the deceased. His work sparked interest in the field. Various devices like Spiricom and Frank's box were developed to capture EVP in the late 20th century. However, their effectiveness remains debatable. In recent years, EVP has seen renewed interest, with organizations like the American Association of Electronic Voice Phenomena, AAEVP, founded by Sarah Estep in 1982. However, scientific research into EVP is limited, often conducted by amateur researchers. Explanations for EVP range from paranormal claims, including communication with spirits, to natural phenomena like radio interference and the brain's tendency to recognize patterns in random noise. The Cassandra metaphor refers to a situation where a person's valid warnings or concerns are not believed by others. It's named after Cassandra, a character from Greek mythology who was cursed to have the gift of prophecy but was never believed. In psychology, the metaphor is used to describe individuals who suffer emotionally and physically due to their distressing perceptions, yet others often disbelieve them. In the corporate world, Cassandras are those who foresee future directions for a company but struggle to get others to believe and commit to their vision. In the environmental movement, environmentalists who predict impending environmental disasters like climate change and pollution sometimes face disbelief and mockery, earning them the label of Cassandras. The metaphor has also been applied in medical science, the media, feminist perspectives, politics, and even popular music and films, highlighting its widespread use across various contexts. The Banach-Tarski paradox is a mind-boggling concept in set-theoretic geometry. Here's the gist. Imagine you have a solid ball in three-dimensional space. According to this paradox, you can break it down into a finite number of pieces and reassemble them to create two identical copies of the original ball. The catch is that these pieces are not solid objects as we typically think of them. Instead, they are infinite collections of points scattered throughout space. This paradox seems to defy basic geometric intuition because you are not stretching, bending, or adding new points to achieve this doubling. Instead, you are simply rearranging and rotating these point collections. This operation seemingly violates the preservation of volume, a fundamental concept in geometry. The mathematical proof of this paradox relies heavily on set theory and the axiom of choice, which allows for the creation of non-measurable sets without a traditional volume, that require an uncountable number of choices to construct. It's worth noting that this paradox only applies to three-dimensional space and cannot be extended to lower dimensions, like 2 dimensions. In the plane, paradoxical decompositions like those in the Banach-Tarski paradox are not possible due to the different properties of the group of Euclidean motions in 2 dimensions. This paradox challenges our geometric intuition and highlights the intricacies of set theory and mathematical reasoning. In the world of computer graphics and artificial intelligence, there's an interesting phenomenon that has emerged. It all began in the 1960s when researchers started translating images into text using machine learning. But the question arose, could they go in the opposite direction, turning text into images? The answer was yes. With AI, you can give it certain terms or prompts, and it generates images based on available resources. But what happens when you challenge the AI to create images that are the complete opposite of the given prompts? This is known as feeding a negative prompt. One Twitter user, Supercomposite, decided to experiment with this idea. They started with a simple prompt, Brando -1, and the AI generated a bizarre image. What made it even more intriguing was when they used the text inside the generated image as a prompt itself. This process led to the creation of something called Lobe. Lobe is a strange and unsettling creation, generated by the AI's latent space, a concept in machine learning that brings data together if it resembles each other. Initially, Lobe's images were surreal and uncanny, but they became increasingly disturbing as more prompts were fed into the AI. What's intriguing is that Lobe's existence couldn't be erased by human hands because it was purely the result of AI experimentation. It's a grotesque mistake that somehow found its place in the AI's knowledge. Supercomposite and others found that combining different prompts with Lobe's image produced various results, some bordering on disturbing and macabre imagery, including dismembered children. This raises questions about why AI was generating such violent content alongside Lobe. Some theories suggest that the spaces between recognizable concepts in the AI's knowledge might contain hidden, disturbing imagery. However, it's challenging to pinpoint the exact reason for this phenomenon. In the end, Lobe is like a ghost in the machine, a reproducible but unsettling concept existing in the negative space between recognizable ideas within the AI's knowledge. It's a reminder of the complexities and unintended consequences of working with artificial intelligence. In the realm of epistemology, there exists a concept known as the Munchausen trilemma. It's a thought experiment aimed at showing the inherent difficulty in proving any truth, even in fields like logic and mathematics, without relying on accepted assumptions. Essentially, when asked to prove a proposition, you can offer proof, but then the question arises about the proof itself, leading to an infinite loop of supporting evidence. The trilemma presents three unsatisfying options: circular argument, regressive argument, and dogmatic argument. Circular argument involves proving a proposition by presupposing its truth. Regressive argument requires an endless chain of proofs, leading to infinite regress. Dogmatic argument relies on accepted precepts without substantive defense. Resolving this trilemma is challenging. Some, like Karl Popper, suggest accepting its unsolvability and working with knowledge through conjecture and criticism. The term Munchausen trilemma was coined by philosopher Hans Albert, referencing Karl Popper's trilemma, which, like Baron Munchausen, struggles to find solid ground. In this context, the trilemma implies that justifying all knowledge either starts with some knowledge, dogmatism, never starts, infinite regress, or relies on circular arguments lacking a firm foundation. Similar trilemmas, such as Agrippa's trilemma, have been proposed. Sextus Empiricus outlined 5 modes in his argument. Jakob Friedrich Fries also introduced a similar trilemma with options of dogmatism, infinite regress, or perceptual experience. Hans Albert's formulation presents 3 attempts at justification, all ultimately failing. Infinite regression leads to impracticality, circular argument sacrifices advancement, and stopping at some point abandons the pursuit of certain justification. Albert emphasizes that this challenge applies to deductive, inductive, causal, and transcendental justifications, rendering certain justification unattainable. Despite this, it doesn't necessitate abandoning objectivity. Instead, it leads to alternatives like Karl Popper and Hans Albert's fallibilism. They accept uncertainty but strive to approach truth while remaining aware of their uncertainty. Ultimately, the Munchausen trilemma underscores the complexity of proving certain truths, encouraging critical thinking and humility in the pursuit of knowledge. Lambda, which stands for Language Model for Dialogue Applications, is a conversational large language model developed by Google. It was originally introduced as Mina in 2020 and has since evolved into 2 generations, with the second one being announced in 2022. Lambda is designed to engage in open-ended conversations and has been trained on human dialogue and stories. It can access various text processing systems, including databases, calendars, calculators, and translation systems, making it versatile in handling different tasks. There were claims made by a Google engineer, Blake Lemoine, in June 2022, suggesting that Lambda had become sentient. However, these claims were widely rejected by the scientific community, with experts emphasizing that language models like LaMDA are not capable of true intelligence. Google also launched the AI Test Kitchen, a mobile application powered by LaMDA, which provides suggestions based on complex goals. Additionally, in response to the popularity of OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google introduced Bard, a conversational AI chatbot powered by LaMDA. LaMDA uses a decoder-only transformer language model and is pre-trained on a massive text corpus. It interacts with an external information retrieval system to improve the accuracy of the information it provides to users. Allegedly, researchers at CERN's Large Hadron Collider aim to make contact with a parallel universe by using the powerful atom-smashing capabilities of the collider. They believe that by generating tiny black holes, they can create doorways to other dimensions. This experiment has raised questions about the potential consequences, including the transfer of gravity between universes. The idea of parallel dimensions and portals to other worlds has intrigued scientists for some time, and CERN's experiments bring these concepts into the spotlight. CERN, originally established as a post-war physics project, has grown into a global research facility. Its name, which originates from the Celtic god Cernunnos, the god of the underworld, and its symbolic connections to various mythological and religious figures, have sparked curiosity about the true purpose of the organization. Some speculate that CERN is attempting to open a portal to the underworld or create a stargate for otherworldly beings. The location of CERN near the Jura Mountains and Lake Geneva adds to the intrigue, as it is associated with ancient deities connected to the underworld. The biblical references to the Tower of Babel and the opening of the abyss are also brought into the discussion. Some suggest that CERN's experiments could be part of a larger plan to usher in a new world order, with ties to mythological and occult beliefs. In summary, CERN's experiments to make contact with a parallel universe have raised questions about the organization's true purpose and its potential connections to ancient mythology and occult symbolism. The quest to understand parallel dimensions and the consequences of tampering with them continues to be a topic of interest among scientists and conspiracy theorists alike. Inedia, also known as breatharianism, is the belief that individuals can live without consuming food, and sometimes even water. This practice is considered pseudoscientific and has led to instances of starvation and dehydration. Some adherents claim that they can sustain themselves solely through air or sunlight, but scientific evidence contradicts these assertions. Scientific studies have consistently shown that extended fasting leads to severe health risks, including starvation, dehydration, and death. When the body doesn't receive food, it naturally consumes its own reserves of glycogen, body fat, and muscle. Breatharians argue that their bodies do not deplete these reserves during fasting, but there is no scientific basis for this claim. While a few individuals have attempted breatharian fasting under medical observation, the results have not conclusively supported their claims. In some cases, people have abandoned the effort after experiencing significant weight loss. Additionally, there have been documented cases of individuals dying as a result of attempting breatharianism. Various individuals have been associated with Inedia throughout history, including Paracelsus, Ram Bahadur Bomjan, Prahlad Jani, Jasmuheen, Wiley Brooks, Hira Ratan Manek, and Ray Maurer. These individuals have made claims about living without food or water, but their assertions have often been met with skepticism and criticism from the scientific community. The Riemann hypothesis is a big puzzle in math. It's about a special math function called the Riemann zeta function. This function has certain special points where it equals 0. Some of these points are easy to find, like -2, -4, -6, and so on. But there are other points that are more complicated. The Riemann hypothesis suggests that if we look at these complicated points, they all have something in common. It says that the real part of these points, which is like the regular number part of a complex number, is always 1/2. Imagine these points falling on a line in a graph, and that line is called the critical line. Why is this important? Well, it's a big deal in math because it helps us understand how prime numbers are distributed. Prime numbers are like the building blocks of all other numbers, and understanding them better is crucial for many math problems. The Riemann hypothesis was first proposed by a mathematician named Bernhard Riemann in 1859, and even today, no one has been able to prove it true or false. If someone does prove it, they could win a $1 million prize. Aliens might have their own version of the internet, a galactic internet, which could rely on gravity-boosted radio signals, according to space scientist Claudio McCone. This hypothetical alien internet might be more advanced than ours. McCone explains that gravitational lensing, an astronomical phenomenon where gravity bends light, could enhance radio signals sent between stars. For instance, a spacecraft positioned at a specific distance from a star could use gravitational lensing to send radio signals to another star system efficiently. This concept could potentially enable interstellar communication, although signals would still travel at the speed of light. This idea isn't entirely science fiction. It's grounded in the physics of star gravitational lensing applied to multiple alien civilizations in the galaxy. However, for now, the required distances for this communication method are vast, far beyond our current technological capabilities. McCone also suggests that we might not want to attract the attention of advanced aliens, as the evolutionary gap between us and a space-colonizing species would be staggering. In essence, we would be insignificant to them. While the discovery of alien life remains a topic of interest, current SETI efforts are focusing on listening for faint signs of alien radio traffic rather than direct messages to Earth. However, deciphering these signals amid background noise poses significant challenges. Despite the difficulties, McCone and others argue that it's worth the effort to search for potential alien signals, as it could prevent unexpected encounters akin to the Aztecs meeting the conquistadors without warning. Dr. Gary Nolan, a professor of pathology at Stanford University, has spent a decade studying materials related to unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. He was drawn to this field due to his interest in science fiction and a desire to investigate claims related to UAPs. Nolan's involvement began when he debunked a claim that a tiny skeleton was an alien. It turned out to be human. He then caught the attention of individuals associated with the CIA and aeronautics corporations who were investigating cases involving pilots and ground personnel exposed to UAP-related phenomena. These individuals suffered brain damage observable in MRI scans. The brain damage seen in these scans resembled white matter disease found in multiple sclerosis patients, indicating scarring and immune system attacks. Approximately 100 patients, primarily defense or governmental personnel, were studied. Their injuries were connected to encounters with UAPs. Nolan's research also revealed an overconnection of neurons in the brain region responsible for intuition in these individuals. While all humans have this connectivity to some degree, these individuals exhibited significantly higher levels. Nolan speculated on whether contact with UAPs caused this phenomenon, or if it was inherent from birth. Regarding potential causes, Nolan considered the impact of electromagnetic frequencies, but found that the observed brain damage did not align with known effects of electromagnetic radiation. He believed it was more likely linked to state actors and Havana syndrome. Additionally, Nolan analyzed inanimate materials linked to UAP events. These materials often exhibited inhomogeneous compositions, with different elements scattered throughout. Some materials had significantly altered isotope ratios, suggesting possible engineering. Nolan explored the idea that UAPs may offload materials for propulsion, and these materials could have altered ratios. However, many questions remained unanswered, emphasizing the need for further research and analysis. Historians propose that Romans might have discovered America before Christopher Columbus. Recently, researchers from the Ancient Artifact Preservation Society, AAPS, found a Roman sword in a shipwreck near Oak Island in Nova Scotia, Canada, along with carvings, ancient coins, and native plants. If this theory is accurate, it would challenge established American history, suggesting that Romans could have visited North America over a millennium before Columbus. The lead researcher Jovan Hutton Pulitzer asserts that Roman ships may have reached North America during the 1st century or even earlier. The ceremonial sword discovered in the shipwreck was subjected to forensic tests and analysis. It was found to be made of ore and appeared similar to ancient Roman artifacts. Pulitzer confirmed its authenticity through testing. Nova Scotia, Canada, is known for numerous unexplored shipwrecks from the 18th and 19th centuries. Although the exact shipwreck's location is known, it remains unexplored because it lies within Nova Scotia's jurisdiction. However, the researchers believe it is of Roman origin. Historians have often dismissed similar findings as collector's items dropped by enthusiasts. The researchers argue that if such a valuable item were lost near Oak Island at a depth of just 25 feet, someone would have retrieved it. To substantiate their theory, the researchers examined the Nova Scotia region, reviewed archaeological records, and considered the Mi'kmaq people, the indigenous inhabitants of Nova Scotia for over 8,000 years. DNA analysis showed their rare genetic markers linked to the ancient Levant. Carved images by the Mi'kmaq depicted Roman legionnaires with swords and ships, and around 50 words in the Mi'kmaq language resembled ancient nautical terms. Additionally, they found the presence of Berberis vulgaris, a bush used by ancient Roman mariners for seasoning, growing on Oak Island. Numerous other artifacts, including stones, a Roman legionnaire's whistle, a Roman shield's metal boss, and Roman head sculptures, were found in various American countries. The researchers argue that these findings collectively challenge established historical narratives. Ego death, also known as psychic death or ego loss, is a concept that has various interpretations and is found in different contexts. It's often associated with experiences induced by psychedelics, but it has broader implications in psychology, mythology, and spirituality. In the realm of psychology, ego death is seen as a fundamental transformation of one's self-identity. It can involve a profound shift in personality and is associated with the idea of letting go of the ego or the sense of a separate self. In mythology, particularly in Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, ego death is a phase of self-surrender and transition that occurs in various world mythologies. It's a process where the hero undergoes a transformation and returns to enrich the world with newfound wisdom. In the context of drugs, ego death refers to the temporary loss of one's sense of self due to the use of substances like LSD. This concept was popularized by figures like Timothy Leary. In spirituality, ego death is often linked to Eastern traditions like Buddhism and the idea of enlightenment or liberation from attachment to a separate sense of self. It's presented as a way to free oneself from suffering by disidentifying with the ego, which is seen as an accumulation of thoughts and emotions. In the future, if humans give birth in space, there could be some unusual changes in babies' appearances. Here's why. Conceiving a baby in zero gravity is challenging. Gravity helps sperm cells reach the egg, and without it, fertilization becomes less likely. During pregnancy, the flow of fluids from the mother's body to the embryo is essential. In space, this flow may be disrupted, potentially affecting the baby's development. The mother's health is also at risk in space. Astronauts lose bone density in space, making childbirth risky due to the potential for pelvic fractures. Cesarean sections may be the safer option. The way we give birth on Earth affects our anatomy. More C-sections in space could lead to babies with larger heads, as there's no restriction from the birth canal. In space, bodily fluids don't settle downwards as on Earth. Space babies might have bloated bodies, puffy faces, and increased blood pressure in the upper body, causing bulging eyes and reduced brain efficiency. Space radiation, without Earth's protective ozone layer, could lead to changes in skin color as evolution adapts to cosmic rays. So spaceborn babies might resemble the alien emoji, bigger heads, bulging eyes, different skin colors, and unique features. As we venture into space, be ready for truly out-of-this-world families. Nearly 2 millennia before the rise of modern science fiction, an ancient writer named Lucian of Samosata penned the world's first novel featuring space travel and interplanetary battles. Published around 175 CE during the Roman Empire, True History tells the story of travelers who leave Earth after their ship is caught in a fierce whirlwind. They arrive on the moon, where inhabitants are locked in a cosmic war with the people of the sun over control of the planet Venus. The battles involve winged acorns, giant gnats, and turnip-fueled slingshots, resulting in thousands of casualties. While Lucian's work was primarily satirical, critiquing the ways philosophers and historians thought about new discoveries, it shares common themes with modern science fiction. Satire and a humorous take on human life are recurring elements in the genre. Lucian was also likely influenced by scientific and philosophical ideas of his time, even though scientifically accurate space travel was centuries away. Though some debate exists about when science fiction truly began, Lucian's imaginative narrative laid the foundation for the genre. It inspired later writers like Johannes Kepler and continues to shape the way we explore the cosmos in literature and film, despite its departure from modern scientific understanding. Alyoshenka, also known as the Kishtim dwarf, is a mysterious case from May 1996 in Russia. It involves the discovery of a prematurely born female baby with severe deformities in the village of Kyolinovi near Kishtim. The remains were lost, leaving only photos and videos. The unusual discovery led to various supernatural and mystical speculations. The fetus, named Alyoshenka, was found by an elderly woman and had an unusual appearance, sparking rumors of extraterrestrial origins. Local residents supported these rumors and even charged fees for interviews with reporters. Some Japanese companies made documentaries about the remains. Alyoshenka was a grayish fetus about 25 centimeters in length with a hairless head covered in dark spots. Its large eyes dominated its face, and its skull had strange ridges converging in a central line, unlike a healthy human skull. Shortly after the discovery, the woman who found Alyoshenka was admitted to a hospital or psychiatric facility, and the remains were given to the local authorities for DNA testing. However, the body later disappeared from their custody. In 1999, the woman died in a car accident while trying to escape from the hospital. Speculations about Alyoshenka's fate vary, with some claiming it was taken away by a UFO inhabited by beings from its species, while others suggest it was acquired by a collector of curiosities. A local hospital doctor believed it was a premature human fetus with severe deformities, contradicting the initial claims. Scientific analysis in 2004 determined that Alyoshenka was a premature human infant with severe deformities, possibly linked to the fallout from the 1957 Kishtim disaster. However, some experts and eyewitnesses disagreed, noting numerous differences in the skeleton, especially the skull, leading them to believe it was not of human origin. A 2018 study on a similar skeleton found a high number of mutations, suggesting that such rare deformities are possible. In the early 2000s, a man named John Quincy St. Clair filed a series of unusual patents, some of which are quite bizarre. Among these patents are inventions related to walking through walls, full-body teleportation, magnetic vortex wormholes, and electric dipole spacecraft. St. Clair's patents cover a range of sci-fi concepts that seem far-fetched. One set of patents revolves around an electric dipole propulsion system and an electric dipole spacecraft. These inventions involve using electromagnetic plates to create lift for a spacecraft, enabling it to travel upward. Another patent is for a walking through walls training system, which aims to train individuals to walk through solid objects using virtual methods. St. Clair also patented a remote viewing amplifier, a device intended for viewing distant locations and communicating with entities living in various dimensions of the universe through spiritual modules of the human energy field. His background stories for these inventions are equally strange. For instance, he claimed to have discovered the full-body teleportation method while walking near an airport and teleporting when a plane passed overhead. He also mentioned experiences with remote viewing, astral projection, and contact with an extraterrestrial group called the Pleiadian Federation. Despite the unusual nature of these patents, St. Clair's background and motivations remain largely unknown. His patents were mostly listed as abandoned, and the patents themselves raise more questions than answers. Some have speculated about his involvement with secretive government programs or organizations, while others consider him a patent squatter with an interest in speculative technology. The patents filed by John Quincy St. Clair continue to be a mystery, and his true identity and intentions remain elusive. In 1977, the NSA became intrigued by events related to parapsychology. It all began with a CIA report mentioning KGB research into parapsychology. The KGB used non-governmental researchers to gather Western scientific data. Then, an American journalist was detained in Russia for receiving a Soviet paper on parapsychology. This paper discussed psychic particles within living cells, raising concerns in American intelligence. Another event involved a successful demonstration of telekinetic power in a Soviet military-sponsored research lab, suggesting a new type of energy source. Some physicists and evolutionists also proposed that the universe was more of a great thought than a great machine, potentially involving telekinesis. British scientists reported poltergeist phenomena after testing Uri Geller, where objects allegedly disappeared and reappeared. This led to the hypothesis of telekinetic weapons. The first hypothetical weapon involved kidnapping a command and control staff member and subjecting them to trauma, making them develop telekinetic abilities under stress. This would disrupt communications during emergencies. The second, more elaborate concept involved gathering 10 people with disruptive telekinetic abilities in one area. The idea was to create a chain reaction that could affect matter, time, space, and energy matter relationships, potentially impacting an entire city. Interestingly, the Philadelphia experiment hoax, where a ship was claimed to become invisible or time travel, bears some resemblance to these hypothetical weapons. However, the NSA's interest in weaponizing psychic abilities remains a mysterious aspect of its history. Spinal catastrophism is a concept formulated by Dr. Daniel Barker in the late 20th century. It suggests that human physical traits, upright posture, and the potential for language are outcomes of natural history, and that psychic ailments are linked to the spine. This idea draws from various thinkers including J.G. Ballard, Georges Bataille, William Burroughs, André Leroi-Gourhan, Elaine Morgan, and Friedrich Nietzsche. The spine is seen as a model representing biogenetic trauma, reflecting the catastrophic events in evolutionary history. The concept has roots in early psychoanalysis, nature philosophy, and Romanticism. It explores the geological idea of depth as memory and the concept of recapitulation resulting from the interaction of absolute idealism with natural history. From psychoanalysis to geology and neuroanatomy, spinal catastrophism delves into various fields, connecting them through the spinal cord. It addresses philosophical questions about time, identity, continuity, and transcendence, offering a unique perspective on human experience and natural history. In Theosophy and Anthroposophy, there's a concept known as the Akashic Records. These records are said to contain every event, thought, word, emotion, and intent across all time, involving all entities and life forms, not just humans. They're believed to exist on a non-physical plane called the mental plane. Some liken this to how holograms work, as if information is vibrationally encoded into space itself. However, it's important to note that there's no scientific evidence to support the existence of these records, and scientific research in this area has made little progress. The term Akasha comes from Sanskrit and means ether, sky, or atmosphere. It was introduced into Theosophy by Helena Blavatsky, who described it as a kind of life force. She referred to the indestructible tablets of the astral light, which recorded past and future human thoughts and actions, although she didn't specifically use the term Akashic. The idea of the Akashic Record was further popularized by others like Alfred Percy Sinnett and C.W. Leadbeater, who associated the term with the ability of clairvoyance to read these records. Alice A. Bailey described the Akashic Record as a vast photographic film containing the life experiences of every human, the reactions of the entire animal kingdom, and thought forms created by human desires. Rudolf Steiner, an Austrian theosophist and founder of anthroposophy, wrote about the Akashic Records in relation to Atlantis and Lemuria, exploring their history and civilizations. Edgar Cayce, a well-known figure, claimed he could access the Akashic Records. Additionally, musician Prince used references to Akashic Records in his album The Rainbow Children to tell stories, particularly about the history of slavery in the United States. Scientists are working on an incredible way to store data, using single atoms. Atoms, the tiniest building blocks of everything, could potentially store data at a scale 1,000 times smaller than today's hard drives. While previous attempts required extremely cold conditions, a new method developed by scientists in the Netherlands suggests this could work at room temperature. They achieved this by using single cobalt atoms on a layer of semi-conducting black phosphorus. Instead of relying on electron spin, they utilize the orbital angular momentum of the cobalt atom, creating a more stable and potentially room temperature-friendly memory. While it's not ready for your computer yet, this breakthrough could revolutionize data storage when it becomes practical. In theosophy and anthroposophy, there's a concept known as the Akashic Records. These records are said to contain every event, thought, word, emotion, and intent across all time, involving all entities and life forms, not just humans. They're believed to exist on a non-physical plane called the mental plane. Some liken this to how holograms work, as if information is vibrationally encoded into space itself. However, it's important to note that there's no scientific evidence to support the existence of these records, and scientific research in this area has made little progress. The term Akasha comes from Sanskrit and means ether, sky, or atmosphere. It was introduced into theosophy by Helena Blavatsky, who described it as a kind of life force. She referred to the indestructible tablets of the astral light, which recorded past and future human thoughts and actions, although she didn't specifically use the term Akashic. The idea of the Akashic Record was further popularized by others like Alfred Percy Sinnett and C.W. Leadbeater, who associated the term with the ability of clairvoyance to read these records. Alice A. Bailey described the Akashic Record as a vast photographic film containing the life experiences of every human, the reactions of the entire animal kingdom, and thought forms created by human desires. Rudolf Steiner, an Austrian theosophist and founder of anthroposophy, wrote about the Akashic Records in relation to Atlantis and Lemuria, exploring their history and civilizations. Edgar Cayce, a well-known figure, claimed he could access the Akashic Records. Additionally, musician Prince used references to Akashic Records in his album The Rainbow Children to tell stories, particularly about the history of slavery in the United States. Akashic field theory, as proposed by Ervin Laszlo, suggests the existence of an information field in the cosmos known as the Akashic field, or A field. This field, named after the Sanskrit term for space, Akasha, is believed to be the fundamental source of energy and information that not only shapes the current universe, but also all past and present universes, collectively forming the Akashic Records. Laszlo's theory posits that this informational field can provide insights into why our universe seems finely tuned for the development of galaxies and conscious life forms. It also offers an explanation for why evolution appears to be an informed rather than random process. The theory addresses certain challenges in quantum physics, including non-locality and quantum entanglement. Additionally, Laszlo collaborated with Anthony Peake, who explored altered states of consciousness and phenomena like déjà vu, dreams, psychedelic experiences, meditation, and near-death experiences. Peake's hypothesis suggests that individuals live variations of the same life repeatedly, making different choices and experiencing different outcomes. Premonitions in this context are seen as memories of the past. This collaboration resulted in the book The Immortal Mind: Science and the Continuity of Consciousness Beyond the Brain. An inforg is an organism or entity composed of information that exists in the infosphere. These information-based organisms, often referred to as natural agents, are a concept introduced by Luciano Floridi to describe elements within the infosphere. Inforgs differ from standalone, unique entities, as they are inherently composed of information. They coexist alongside artificial agents in the infosphere. Inforgs can even be part of hybrid agents, such as a family that includes digital devices like cameras, cell phones, tablets, and laptops. Norbert Wiener contributed to the idea of inforgs by defining organisms as entities characterized by patterns of persisting Shannon information. Shannon information, named after Claude Shannon, is a form of information that exists in the physical realm and can be manipulated by the laws of nature and science. This implies that inforgs are composed of matter, energy, and Shannon information. One intriguing experiment supporting the concept of inforgs involves using DNA as a medium for data storage. DNA, considered the building blocks of organisms, can hold binary information. This reinforces the idea that living organisms consist of persisting patterns of Shannon information within an ever-changing flux of matter and energy. Furthermore, the Shannon information within an inforg contains the identity of the organism. For instance, a person's identity is not linked to their physical matter or energy, but is encoded as patterns of Shannon information within their body. While a person's body may undergo changes over time, their identity remains constant. The manipulation of Shannon information within an inforg falls under the metaphysical realm. An infovore is someone who constantly craves and accesses information, especially through digital devices. The rapid advancement of technology offers solutions to practical problems, but also brings about concerns and consequences. As we embrace ubiquitous computing in digital culture, it gives rise to new risks and vulnerabilities. This shift impacts education, communication, and even our human psyche. Predictions suggest that technology will significantly reshape our homes, workplaces, and communities in the future. Understanding the various implications of digital innovation is crucial for the future and underscores the importance of meta-literacy in both formal and informal settings. Imagine a universe where civilizations evolve and develop, much like biological organisms. In this universe, most processes are unpredictable, but a select few follow predictable patterns that lead to far future-specific emergent order. Think of it like the similarities between genetically identical twins. Now, consider the transcension hypothesis. It suggests that advanced civilizations, regardless of their origin, follow a universal process of evolutionary development. This process leads them into what can be described as inner space. Here, they enter a domain of increasingly dense, productive, miniaturized, and efficient scales of space, time, energy, and matter. But where does this journey ultimately lead? The transcension hypothesis proposes a destination akin to a black hole. Yes, you read that right. A black hole-like environment. It may sound far-fetched, but there are intriguing reasons for this idea. Black holes, those enigmatic cosmic objects known for their immense gravitational pull, may hold the key. Some theorists believe that black holes are the ultimate computing environments. At their heart, the traditional constraints of computing disappear. This means they can process information without the usual time cost of moving it between processors and memory registers. Now, imagine an advanced civilization harnessing the power of black holes. They could use these cosmic giants for computing, learning, forward time travel, and even energy harvesting on an unprecedented scale. But transcension isn't just about powerful computing. It's also about the merger of civilizations, natural selection, and even universe replication. Advanced societies may reshape their solar systems, transitioning from post-biological life to integrated global brains, and perhaps even to Jupiter brains. So where does this leave us in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence? Seedy. The transcension hypothesis suggests that as civilizations advance, they move away from traditional electromagnetic communication. Weak signals like radar, radio, and TV cease to emanate from these civilizations as they enter their own technological singularities. In this developmental process, civilizations may resist transcension and remain in outer normal space. However, the hypothesis suggests that such civilizations are the exception rather than the rule. Most eventually succumb to the allure of transcending into inner space. What does all this mean for our efforts to communicate with potential extraterrestrial intelligences? If transcension is an inevitable and testable process, then one-way messaging, or probes, may be the only viable communication option, as two-way communication is severely limited by the vast distances between rapidly transcending civilizations. But here's the ethical twist. One-way messaging or probes may homogenize the evolutionary diversity in receiving civilizations, potentially conflicting with an evolutionary attractor that maximizes local diversity. This moral dilemma has been called the zoo hypothesis in the Fermi paradox literature. In the end, the transcension hypothesis challenges our assumptions about the nature of advanced civilizations and their communication methods. It raises thought-provoking questions about our place in the cosmos and the future of our search for extraterrestrial life. Could a planet possess intelligence? It's a thought-provoking idea proposed by astrobiologists. They suggest that planets like Earth could be considered intelligent entities due to the collective activity of life on them. In this concept, planetary intelligence is defined as cognitive activity and knowledge operating on a large planetary scale. It's a departure from thinking about intelligence only in the context of sentient beings like humans. Instead, it considers the cumulative effects of life, including microbes and plants, on a planet. For instance, underground fungal networks in forests act as a life system that responds to changing climate conditions, significantly impacting the planet. The researchers argue that planetary intelligence is about the capacity of life on a planet to sustain itself indefinitely. In essence, it challenges us to think of the planet as having a green mind. And this perspective has implications for how we address climate change and other global crises. It prompts us to consider the collective intelligence of life forms and their ability to work together for the planet's survival. However, the researchers also note that Earth, despite being teeming with life, may not exhibit true planetary intelligence. It suggests that our planet is in an immature technosphere stage, where technological activity has developed but hasn't harmoniously integrated with the environment. Achieving planetary intelligence would involve aligning biological and technological processes for the benefit of the planet's future. This concept challenges our understanding of intelligence and encourages us to view physical nature as potentially intelligent beings. It opens up new possibilities for addressing global challenges and uniting our efforts to ensure the planet's well-being. In 1994, Jacobo Greenberg, a renowned figure in the study of consciousness, mysteriously vanished, leaving behind a puzzle that remains unsolved to this day. Greenberg, often referred to as the Einstein of consciousness, pushed the boundaries of conventional science to explore the limitless potential of the human brain. As a professor at Mexico's National Autonomous University and the director of a cutting-edge laboratory, he delved into research on telepathy and other uncharted territories of psychophysiology. Despite the dedicated investigations of Chief Superintendent Clemente Padilla, the circumstances surrounding Greenberg's disappearance remain shrouded in mystery. His story takes us on a fascinating journey across diverse locations, from Mexico to the United States, India, Nepal, Barcelona, and Madrid. Jacobo Greenberg, born in Mexico City in 1946, was a multifaceted figure. He ventured into the realms of pseudoscience, neurophysiology, and psychology. His studies encompassed Mexican shamanism, Eastern practices, meditation, astrology, and telepathy, all explored through his unique scientific approach. Grinberg authored over 50 books on these intriguing subjects. His path in life was deeply influenced by a personal tragedy, the loss of his mother to a brain tumor when he was just 12 years old. This event ignited his lifelong fascination with the human mind. Grinberg pursued a psychology degree at UNAM and later traveled to New York City to delve into psychophysiology at the Brain Research Institute, where he obtained his PhD. His doctoral work focused on understanding how geometric stimuli affect the human brain's electrophysiology. Back in Mexico, Grinberg founded psychophysiology laboratories at Universidad Anáhuac and UNAM. In 1987, he established the Instituto Nacional para el Estudio de la Conciencia, INPEC, with funding from UNAM and CONICET. Many of his books were published through INPEC, covering topics ranging from brain activity to witchcraft, shamanism, telepathy, and meditation. Grinberg's unconventional approach to combining science and shamanism drew both intrigue and skepticism. He aimed to bridge the gap between scientific inquiry and the mystical world, challenging the traditional boundaries of consciousness studies. His efforts were met with resistance from fellow scientists who dismissed his work as a departure from established scientific norms. Then on December 8, 1994, Jacobo Grinberg vanished without a trace. His family had prepared a birthday celebration for his 48th birthday on December 12th, but he failed to appear. Initially, his sporadic travels and unavailability didn't raise alarms, but as days turned into weeks, concern grew. Grinberg's disappearance sparked a host of conspiracy theories, further complicating the mystery. One of Grinberg's notable theories was the synergy theory. According to this theory, there exists a continuous energy space beyond human perception, and what we consider reality is just a fraction of it. This concept challenges our understanding of how experiences are created, and it gained international recognition when mentioned in his book El Cerebro Consciente, translated into 7 languages. Jacobo Grinberg's enigmatic disappearance and his unconventional approach to consciousness studies continue to captivate minds and intrigue those who seek to unravel the mysteries of the human mind and the boundaries of reality. DNA is not a fixed material, but a liquid crystalline substance that receives and transmits holographic information. It functions as an antenna and receiver for information from the environment and ether. It operates through radionics, forming electromagnetic fields based on vibratory frequencies, resulting in 3D holographic images. DNA uses interference patterns from 2 waves, creating a phantom effect that adapts and reforms properties through natural selection. The 98% previously considered junk DNA now serves as a memory bank, encoding and decoding information to construct a virtual reality based on vibratory patterns, similar to the concept of the Akashic field. DNA operates similarly to the mind, translating words into visual imagery, shaping archetypal ideas into physical forms. Our inner constitution affects how we perceive the outer world, as both inner and outer realities resonate and create interference patterns. DNA is dynamic, constantly changing based on the information it absorbs. Scalar energy influences it, forming electromagnetic fields that organize matter. Our thoughts, internal dialogue, and external influences program DNA by writing and reading genetic information. Our thoughts and exposure to various media programs us with information, tuning us to specific vibrations. Controlling our thoughts and choosing beneficial ideas are crucial for personal development. Words form holographic images, impressing memories on the ether, which in turn influences the body's cellular structure. The causal field of the Akashic field shapes our personal reality and emotions, simultaneously affecting the etheric hologram of the body. Thoughts become emotional blueprints, animating our physical and inner worlds. In essence, we become what we think and imagine. Khenpo Acho was a spiritual teacher from Tibet, known for his deep knowledge of Buddhism. He had many students in different regions. One notable event in his life was when Dujam Rinpoche, another prominent Buddhist teacher, recognized him as a special reincarnation and taught him advanced spiritual practices. Khenpo Achu then returned to his monastery and spent a long time in meditation, during which he wrote a detailed explanation of a particular Buddhist practice. Khenpo Acho achieved the rare phenomenon known as the rainbow body in September 1998, on a hillside near Lumarap. His remarkable transformation into rainbow light garnered attention, even receiving coverage in the regional press. It was further documented in several articles and books. On August 29, 1998, Khenpo Acho, aged 80, attained physical dissolution in Tibet. In a state of deep meditation, while reciting a mantra, he transcended into a clear light, a profound state of enlightenment. His body dissolved into light to resemble that of an 8-year-old child with a flawless complexion. Rainbows appeared, and a pleasant aroma filled the surroundings. His dissolution was complete, leaving no physical remnants behind, resembling a bird taking flight, disappearing without a trace. There is an alleged leaked document from within a high Masonic circle that introduces and explains a scientific theory of manifesting objects into reality using quantum mechanics and spiritual methods. This document delves into the intriguing concept of manifest production observership. This is the summary of the document's details. The first step in this process is to really know the thing you want to create in your mind. If it's something like an orange or a piece of yarn, you need to have a clear picture of how it looks, feels, and even smells. But be careful. If you don't know much about what you want to create, like a fancy camera or a specific amount of money, it's better not to try this. The secret sauce in all of this is understanding how light works and how it makes images. When you're doing this creating thing, you're basically telling tiny particles of light to come together and form the thing you want. To make this happen, you need to use your thoughts and feelings to guide these light particles and tell them what to do. It's like giving them a recipe to follow. Knowing all the tiny details about the thing you want to create, like its special numbers or features, helps a lot. Now here's the cool part. Your body plays a big role in all of this. It has a special kind of energy that extends around it, kind of like an invisible glow. This energy can help make your creation process work better. This might sound a bit like science fiction, but some people believe they can actually do this. There are stories of monks who say they can make food appear out of thin air using this method, but it's not just about making stuff. This whole process is also connected to how your brain works. You see, your brain has different modes for different things like thinking, relaxing, or being really focused. When you're trying to create something, you need to be in a special mode where everything in your mind and body is working together, almost like a symphony. It's when you're super focused but also super relaxed at the same time. This might all sound a bit strange, but some people believe it's possible. They think that by understanding how our minds, the tiny particles of the world, and the energy around us all fit together, we can do some pretty amazing things. So, whether you think this is real or just a wild idea, it's definitely something that makes you wonder about the world and how we fit into it. The omnipotence paradox revolves around the concept of omnipotence, which is the quality of being all-powerful. This paradox questions the limits of omnipotence and how it relates to the ability to perform logically contradictory actions. The paradox often takes the form of questions like, can an omnipotent being create a stone so heavy that even they cannot lift it? This question presents a dilemma. If the being can create such a stone, then they cannot lift it, implying a limit to their power. On the other hand, if they cannot create such a stone, they are also not omnipotent because there is something they cannot do. Some responses to this paradox involve redefining omnipotence. For example, some argue that omnipotence doesn't mean the ability to do anything, including the logically impossible, but rather the ability to do anything that is logically possible and in line with the nature of the omnipotent being. Another response is that the paradox is based on a misunderstanding of the question itself. It suggests that the question itself is meaningless or incoherent because it assumes that an omnipotent being can both create and not create a stone that they cannot lift simultaneously. Ultimately, the omnipotence paradox raises complex questions about the nature of omnipotence, logic, and the limits of what is possible even for an all-powerful being. It has been a topic of philosophical discussion for centuries and continues to provoke thought and debate among theologians and philosophers. It's been said that there are 12 rules to the game of life. By following these laws, you live in harmony with the natural flow of the universe, bringing forth positive change, good things, and high vibrations into your day-to-day life. Here's a quick breakdown of the 12 laws. Law of divine oneness. Everything is connected, and your actions matter not just to yourself, but to the collective. This interconnectedness can lead to greater life satisfaction. Law of vibration. Everything has a frequency and vibration. Similar vibrations attract each other, and raising your frequency can attract positive experiences. Law of correspondence. Your daily life is shaped by subconscious patterns you repeat. Identifying and changing these patterns can lead to a more fulfilling life. Law of attraction. Your focus creates your reality, so embrace self-love and gratitude to attract what you desire. Law of inspired action. Taking physical steps toward your goals is crucial. Vision boards are good, but action is essential, even if it pushes you out of your comfort zone. Law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Small actions can have a profound effect over time. Uplifting daily activities can lead to significant results. Law of cause and effect. Every action causes a reaction. Focus on positive energy and actions to attract positive outcomes. Law of compensation. You'll be compensated for your contributions to the world, not just financially, but in love, joy, and kindness. Law of relativity. Perspective determines how you see situations. Choose to view challenges positively and transform your reality. Law of polarity. Everything has a polar opposite. Embrace both sides to learn, grow, and gain clarity. Law of rhythm. Life has cycles with ebbs and flows. Embrace patience and grace during different seasons of your life. Law of gender. Balancing confident and strong, masculine, and flowing and creative, feminine energies is essential in various life situations. Some people's inner experiences are quite different from what is typically imagined. For instance, some individuals don't have an internal monologue, which is the constant self-talk that many people have in their heads. When faced with tasks or requests, they may not engage in an inner dialogue of complaints or frustration. These individuals describe their experiences as not having a conscious stream of thoughts or words describing their feelings. They just feel their emotions without the need for inner dialogue. It's like their inner voice, which is the middleman in their head, is absent. Others who lack an inner monologue mention that when they need to communicate verbally, they have to translate their thoughts into words, which can be time-consuming and effortful. They prefer written communication as it allows them more time to organize their thoughts. Conversely, those with an internal monologue experience thoughts as words in their heads. They can't imagine thinking without this verbal aspect. Emotions often come with a stream of thoughts, which may involve self-talk and sometimes swearing. Scientific studies indicate that people's experiences with internal monologues vary. Some individuals talk to themselves inwardly often, while others rarely do. There is a wide range of differences in how people think and experience their inner voices. In some cases, the inner voice takes on unique forms. For example, some people see images or visualizations as their inner voice, while others may experience it as colors, sensations, or even tastes. People's inner experiences are highly individual and not fully understood by science. Some have even theorized that people with these unique ways of thinking are akin to real-life NPCs in video games who seem to lack the rich inner lives and complex thoughts of player-controlled characters.